Now in Deepwoken, there's a lot of things that contribute as to how good your build actually is. These being your weapon, your core attributes, your attunement, and your mantras. But one thing is often left out by many players, that being equipment. Now equipment is one of the most important additions to your build, as it can provide you with crucial talents, extra hit points, and boost your resistances overall. Therefore, I've decided to go over every single type of equipment and the best possible rolls on them. Now before I do go into the actual equipment, I do clearly want to explain how equipment actually works. Now equipment consists of stats, also known as pips. Now these pips determine how good your equipment is and what qualities they have. They can consist of 4 different rarities being common, uncommon, rare, and legendary. The amount of pips your equipment has depends on not just the type of it, but also what star the equipment is. Pips can provide 6 different buffs being health, ether, sanity, posture, physical armor, and elemental armor. One thing to note is that you can't have all your pips be the same, so you'll have to exclude one for a different buff, but more on that later. With the basics of equipment out the way, let's move on to the actual best equipment. First up, we have helmets. Now this is the only equipment piece where you actually have loads of options when it comes to what you want to use. The best helmets being Authority helmet, Parasol planter, Khan helmet, and Aegis of Enmity. Starting off with the Authority helmet, this helmet is exceptionally good if you're going medium and you don't have the talent called Stronghold, as it gives you this talent pretty much for free while also having decent stats. The best stats you can have on this helmet is 28 HP and 2% physical armor for max HP, and 15 HP and 10% physical armor for max physical armor. Now if you are going something like a Hero Blade build or a build that uses medium weapon but you don't have the talent, I'd really suggest picking this up as you get a pretty decent posture buff for pretty much free. Next up is the Parasol planter, which is overall the best helmet in the game as it gives you the best possible pips out of any helmet. The max HP in this helmet being 32 HP and 2% physical armor, and the max physical armor being 14 HP and 14% physical armor. Now on top of having really good stats, this helmet also gives you a really good talent which reduces damage over time, which is extremely good on Flametron builds as it nerfs the downside of Flame Within and Agitating Spark. And for the last 2 helmets, we have the Aegis of Enmity and the Khan helmet. Now these helmets don't really have any special buffs or talent, except for the fact that they give a bit of posture. So if you're in need of posture, I'll suggest picking one of these up, as posture can be pretty important at times. Now I'll leave the best possible HP rolls and physical rolls on screen. Now with helmets out the way, let's move on to your armor equipment. For arms, there's really only one piece of equipment which is the best and you should always go for, that being the Bastions of Enmity. The max HP you can get on them being 37 HP, 2% physical armor, and 2 posture, while the max physical being 17 HP, 18% physical armor, and 2 posture. These are pretty hard to get though, so you could always pick up a Diver's Light Plate that has the exact same stats except for 1 posture instead of 2. If you can't get either of those, the next best thing is the Iron Singer Heavy Plate, which has worse pips and doesn't give any posture. Anyways, that's about it for the arms equipment. There isn't really any special arms here that gives you a special talent that's pretty useful or anything, so yeah, I'll just move on to the legs. Now, boots or legs also don't really offer that much variety, as there's only really 3 options which you should be going for, being the Star Boots, the Imperial Boots, and the Watchers of Enmity. Starting off with the Star Boots and the Imperial Boots, these are pretty much the same as they're just copies of each other and have the exact same pips. The best rolls on these boots are 30 HP and 10 ether, as you can't get any physical at all on boots. Next up, we have the Watchers of Enmity. Now these boots aren't really that great as they only give 25 HP and 1 posture, so I'd only suggest picking these up if you're looking to min-max posture, otherwise there's kinda no reason to pick these up. And with that out the way, we're done with the main part of your equipment, but there is still a lot more to talk about. First up being rings. Rings are really great as they allow you to have some pretty nice passive buffs, such as the Ferryman ring buffing your rhythm size and the DeFi ring making your flame stronger. Rings also give some decent stats, which I'll be talking about now, but first let's get into what rings you should actually be using. Rings are different in the main part of your equipment, as you can have 4 rings equipped at once. There are also 3 different classes of rings, being the stat ring, the attribute ring, and rare rings. Starting off with stat rings, we have the moon ring and the waning ring. Now I've named these rings stat rings as all they do is just make you look older or younger and have no change gameplay wise, except for having pretty good stats. The best stats being 9 HP and 1 posture for both rings. Next up we have attribute rings. Now in these rings attribute rings, as all they do is just buff an attribute and don't really affect anything vital on your build. Take the Akura ring for example. This ring adds a bit of scaling to your weapon depending on your willpower. Or the Ferryman ring, which increases your rhythm size. Attribute rings also offer great stats, with the max HP being 7 HP 1 posture and max posture being 3 HP 3 posture. But for the most value, I'll pick up a 6 HP 2 posture ring, as it only has 1 posture less than max posture and 1 less HP than max HP. And lastly, we have rare rings. These rings have the most impact on your build, but also provide the worst stats. Let's take a look at the Ring of Pestilence for example. This ring procs 50% anti-heal on all-in-ones and criticals, which is crucial for most builds. However, it does come with the cost that the stats are significantly lower than other rings, as the max HP is only 6 and the max posture is only 2, but you can also get somewhere in between with 3 HP and 1 posture. Next up we have scarves or torso equipment. Torsos are probably the most unique equipment out there, as they can provide you with special passive or active ability, like the Tyrant Pendant allowing you to negate fall damage or the War Master Medallion reducing your crit cooldown. First up, we have the Confessor Charm and Fault of Enmity. These torsos don't really do anything special except for having really good stats, with the Confessor Charm having the best physical being 13 HP, 10 ether and 3% physical, and the Fault of Enmity giving a whopping 18 HP and 10 ether. Moving on to the more interesting torsos, we have the Whistling Pendant. Now if you don't already know what this pendant does, it pretty much just gives you auto parry frames after you've landed a specific amount of hits without getting dodged or parried. Therefore, I'd probably go to say that this is the best torso equipment in the game, as you can get saved a lot and punish opponents hard with this pendant. It's an incredibly rare drop though, and estimated to have about a 0.1% chance from Duke, meaning you'd have to do Duke about 1,000 times to get it. The best stats on it being 9 HP and 8% wind armor. For the next pieces of equipment, we have masks and earrings. Now I've chosen to tie these two together as they pretty much serve the same purpose in giving you little bonus stats. Starting off with masks, you actually have a fair bit of variety when it comes to them, being the Thrall of Enmity and the Citadel frames. For the Thrall of Enmity, I'd only use this mask if you don't have the talent called Lose Your Mind and you're running an Insanity build, as it doesn't give better stats and doesn't have any additional HP compared to other masks. Instead, use the Citadel frames as they're the only face equipment which can give you HP, with them giving 5 HP but also -1 posture. Now in my opinion, this is pretty much just free, as you can get a lot of posture from other equipment, and -1 is not really that big of a deal. The best possible stats you can get on these is 19 ether and 6 sanity. And for the last piece of equipment, we have earrings. Now there's really only one option when it comes to earrings, being the Moonlit earrings. These are the only earrings in the game that provide any sort of health or resistance, with the best stats on them being 2 HP, 27 ether and 6 sanity. With that being said, we're pretty much done with everything equipment wise, but there is still one more thing which is extremely important, which most players seem to forget, being armor enchants. These generally just allow you to be more tanky or just give you an outright buff, so make sure to always pick these up. For the sake of the video, I'll only be talking about the enchants that make you more tanky, so I won't take stuff like Stench into account, as it's an offensive enchant. Now the only two enchants which I recommend on any build are Ferocity and Viscosity. I won't go into too much detail on what these actually do, but I'll just leave a quick description on screen right now so you can read that. For the last slot though, I'd recommend using something like Allure if you only have 25 charisma or no charisma at all, as it just gives you a 10% damage reduction and charms the opponent. Otherwise you can use something like Drowned or Entanglement. That is pretty much everything equipment has to offer, although I quickly want to show you guys the total stats of all the best equipments combined. Starting off with health, the most HP you can get is 154 HP, not including the Drowned enchant. And for physical, being 35% fizz and 111 HP. Now the amount of fizz will of course scale a bit down, so you'll have about 55 to 57% fizz, including your armor. But yeah, in my opinion, physical is way more important than HP, as it just generally allows you to tank way more than HP does. So if you can, I'd aim for this kit instead of the HP one. But yeah, of course, it's all preference. So if you want to tank more mage hits, then I'd suggest going with the HP. But yeah, anyways, this video took me a really long time to make, so I'd really appreciate it if you guys could like and subscribe. And we also just reached 10,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate that. And I know I haven't been uploading for a while, but I will get back to the build grind. So yeah, you guys just stay tuned and I'll see you in the next one.